Hey guys, I'm Madden Gaming, and the truth about what the NFL banned it from Madden. This one's gonna be an interesting one. Helmets can't come off no more. I know that's the main one. Well, not the main one, but that's the one that like really sticks out for me. Be interesting to see why the NFL has banned this in video games. Without further ado though, let's jump right into it.
Over the years, the Madden NFL series has lost some of its fan favorite features, but what's interesting about all of this is that not all of those features that were lost were at the hands of EA, but rather by the league that they answer to, the NFL. When you partner with the NFL to use their license, you have to obey their requests of what they do or don't want in the game, as they see the game as a direct representation of their brand. After all, their name, their logos, and everything associated with them is in this game. If they see something in the game that they think is a bad look for their brand or something that they just simply don't want to be associated with at all, they will have EA remove it. We all know the nickname for the NFL is the No Fun League, and when you find out what they've had removed from Madden and why they've had it removed, the nickname will make even more sense than it ever did before. Now, I've done a video like this in the past, but over the years we've gotten more information about things that they've banned from the game and also some more clarity on certain things as well, so I figured it was time to make an updated video on this topic, seeing as a lot of Madden fans are still asking about all of these things to this day, and a lot of people still don't know that the NFL had EA remove these things from their game.
So the 8 Sleep is a pod cover that fits on a mattress like a fitted sheet, but it's temperature controlled, so
Let's start with one of the most common things I see asked about in my comment section all the time. Where are the big hits that made helmets pop off of players? Whatever happened to those hits? It was so cool to hit stick somebody and see their helmet go flying. It really made the impact of the big hits feel more intense. And with the hit stick itself being one of the best features that was ever added to Madden, this just perfectly went hand in hand with it.
Y'all remember, I think it was Madden 08 with Brett Favre on the cover? Y'all remember when you would hit stick, the whole screen would shake, bruh? That right there was one of my favorite features, bro. Like it just felt so intense. Like you get a big hit stick that and your screen would just start doing this. Oh my goodness, bro. Bro. They should bring that back.
It felt so rewarding to line a player up perfectly and knock him back in the next week as his helmet flew off his head. But as we all know, the helmets don't quite do that anymore in Madden. We haven't seen this in probably over 10 years at this point, maybe more than that. And this was not an EA decision to remove this from the game. This was actually the NFL. This is one of the few things that make sense, I suppose, since they are trying to completely remove themselves from the conversation of being too dangerous, and for years now, they've been trying to avoid head injuries as much as possible. All you have to do
Completely understand this one. Because of all the work they have done to make sure the head injuries and to get certain things out of the real NFL. Like I completely understand this. Unfortunately for me, I did not play Madden when they had this feature. So it looks like it should be fun, but I understand this one. I understand. I totally agree. I totally understand this one.
is just look at the rule changes in the NFL over the years. You can no longer hit a defenseless receiver, and if a play is too bang bang, you'll likely get flagged for it even if you don't lead with your helmet but instead lead with your shoulder, and even if you don't actually make contact with the head. But if it's too close to call, they're gonna throw the flag every time. Or if it just simply looks bad in real time and it actually isn't, it doesn't matter, the flag is probably still coming out. The NFL simply doesn't like big hits being glorified at all, even though they are a reality of the sport. But in Madden, it doesn't have to be, so they requested that EA remove the helmets popping off of players, even though we still see it happen all the time in the NFL. This feature was removed many years ago and will likely never make a return again. It's actually still surprising to me that the hit stick itself has been able to survive all of this, and in fact, some of the ragdoll hit sticks have gotten even more crazy in Madden, but for some reason having the helmets pop off is just taking it a bit too far in terms of how the NFL sees it. I guess that's just where they draw the line. Now this leads directly into the next thing that the NFL banned from Madden. While we're on the topic of big hits and helmets popping off, what type of injuries are often caused by this? It's the C word that the NFL absolutely absolutely hates: concussion injuries. If you've played any level of football, I mean down to just playing in your front yard for many years as a kid, you've probably had one of these at some point. You fell too hard, you accidentally bumped heads with somebody. It's almost impossible to avoid. But the league is trying their hardest to separate themselves from that word, with more and more doctors and specialists coming forward over the years with information about just how dangerous this head injury can be. The NFL would like to do everything in its power to make sure that they don't exist anymore. And we all know that they still happen pretty frequently in real life, but that doesn't mean that they have to happen in Madden. It would be nice to have this in the game for realism along with the concussion protocols like in real life, but the NFL is simply just not going for it. While they can't avoid it in real life, they can control whether or not it's in their video game, so naturally, they're never ever signing off on it again. I do believe head injuries may still happen in the game, but they're pretty rare if they do, and they're never actually called concussions. And to go along with this, another thing that silently went away over the years were career-ending injuries, and while there's been no hard proof that the NFL actually banned this specifically, it's pretty likely the case as it falls in line with the rest of the things that they have banned. Injuries are still in the game, of course, just not the kind that the NFL hates to be associated with, which would be concussions and anything career-ending. Now, really quickly before we continue on to some of the crazier things that the NFL banned from Madden, I do want to shout out today's video sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. You can try out their pick'em game on their website or by downloading their app, and simply what you do is take two or deposit match. Now we're going to keep with the same theme and move on to the next thing that the NFL banned from Madden. This next feature was kind of goofy to be honest, but Madden fans loved it back in the day. This was one of the biggest fan favorites of all time in Madden, the ambulance. But not just the ambulance itself really.
They had the ambulance in the game. I don't remember this. I don't remember ever hearing about or seeing about this. I had the ambulance in this game. What the fuck, man? God, they got rid of
We
that
still
shit.
see the cart come out in Madden to take players off the field, which is in line with modern times. But back in the old school days of Madden, whenever you hurt a member of the opposing team badly enough, he would have to get carted off the field in an ambulance. But the NFL wound up making EA remove the ambulance altogether many years ago for a specific reason. Now when the ambulance came onto the field, this was a big moment in the game, especially if you were playing against friends. It was a bragging rights kind of thing that you were able to take your buddy's player out of the game. The ambulance would come cruising onto the field, but the great thing about it that everybody loved was that the ambulance would literally run over any players that were in its way. It would in fact technically injure more people in the process of taking away the original injured player.
It's like a blitz feature. I don't know if you guys ever played the blitz football game. Yeah, this seems like this would be that type of feature right here. Like I could see this like as an unlockable reward for injuring a player or some other illegal stuff that was in that game. Yeah, I could totally see it in this. Not in Madden though. That damn.
It was one of those things that made absolutely no sense, but it was a funny thing among Madden players. If you know kind of thing. It was a lot of fun while it lasted, but eventually the league
I
wasn't
guess I
having it
don't know.
anymore as they felt it just kind of glorified injuries a bit too much, which I guess does make sense. The NFL dropped the ban hammer
I
on
mean,
this
you
in
running over
2001,
players.
which somewhat makes that year's Madden game
That's
a
not
little bit more
funny.
special
I
as it
mean,
was the last version of
when
the
you was
game to
younger, yeah,
feature
but
the
once you
ambulance.
actually look
Now
at
it's
it, that's
time to
not
switch
funny.
gears a little bit and dive into some more specific things that were banned from Madden, but these are all mostly things that were banned for ridiculous reasons. We can all understand why the violent stuff was removed from the game, especially since the game is rated E for everyone, and also just because it makes perfect sense for the
Damn,
NFL
it
as a
is
brand.
rated E
But some
for
of these
everyone.
things we're going to
I never
cover will
thought about
simply
it.
just make you laugh. Let's start with player holdouts. This is something I see asked about every single year. Where are the player holdouts? Back in the day, it would be common for top players to hold out exactly like they do in real life. This was just another element that made team building / managing more realistic, but also more difficult. You had to juggle the different personalities of players, and that meant even having to deal with stars who wouldn't play until you gave in to what they wanted. Now, of course, we all know that EA has removed details like this in the past, but this one in particular wasn't their call. The NFL made them take this out of the game a good while ago, simply because they didn't want people thinking negatively of their players based on their personalities in a video game. Doesn't that sound a bit ridiculous? Does anybody
I know he said, doesn't that sound ridiculous? But you will be surprised at how many people, especially nowadays, especially kids, growing up, seeing their favorite, playing with their favorite football player. And if they was to see that, it I don't know. Like you cannot put anything past people nowadays. You can't, cause as much as he said, doesn't this sound like ridiculous? Like, doesn't this sound like crazy? I bet you it's a lot of people, more people than we think, that will actually, think that way. So I wouldn't put that past them. So I wouldn't say that's a ridiculous thing, to be honest with you.
Play a sports game and think negatively on the real life player based on what he does in a virtual world. I sure don't know anybody who does, but the NFL is the no fun league for a reason. They take everything way too seriously. Speaking of taking things way too seriously,
One thing I would like to say also about the taking things way too seriously. Nowadays, you kind of have to, because people can't take jokes for shit. How many times have you told a joke to somebody and they took it to heart, and now they want to get in a fight with you, they want to physically harm you, or they don't want to be your friend no more? How many times have you seen that in your personal life? I know I have. So I get what he's saying, but at the same time, you gotta look at where we at this day and age. People can't take a joke. It sucks, but it's true. They just can't.
seriously, the next up on this list is something even sillier than the previous one. Have you ever seen a stadium in real life that wasn't full of people? Sure, we see it all the time, every season in
I
fact.
heard
You
about
ever
this one.
noticed that you never see that in Madden
He
anymore? Do you
mentioned
even
this a couple
remember
of times.
dynamic attendance in Madden? It was that long ago. I know some of you do because I see you asking about it every single year, but if you don't know about this feature, let me tell you about it. In Madden 11, EA added a feature that was known as dynamic attendance. What this did was
I
it used a
remember
variety of
this.
factors to determine the fan turnout for any given game. So things like the team's record, the weather, and more would be a factor in how full the stadium got. If your team was 4-10, for example, and playing in 15-degree weather, fans would likely think twice before showing up on that Sunday. If your team just had a bad record in general, they might not show up in full force, reacting the same as real-life fans would. But that was all put to rest quickly as the NFL didn't like that very much. The No Fun League dropped the ban hammer once again, and we haven't seen dynamic attendance since, and probably never will. But the funny thing about this one is this wasn't just the NFL itself, it was more so the owners who had an issue with this. It's been said that the team owners weren't
It was
happy
the
about seeing their
owners?
stadiums empty in the video game, even though their stadiums were often not full in real life. This led to the NFL banning dynamic attendance in Madden, and this is why you always see a full stadium, even if the Giants are
Okay, I
1 and
get this.
13
This
and
is dumb.
playing in the snow.
This
This is
one's
another
dumb.
area that makes NBA games more immersive, as you'll often see arenas that aren't full when your team is struggling, or you'll see the arenas start to clear out
Never
early if
asked
a
to be
team
paying
is getting
attention to
blown
that,
out.
but that
The
is
NBA,
true.
unlike the NFL, is not clearly as strict when it comes to their video games, and maybe one day the NFL won't be so uptight either, but at this point, that's wishful thinking. Now it's time to switch gears once again and talk about arguably the biggest missed feature in Madden these days. And this one is a bit more controversial as the verdict is still out on whether or not this was an official NFL ban. There's a lot of mixed information on this. Nobody seems to know for sure, as we've heard some reliable sources on both sides of the argument, and I'm talking about the Create a Team feature. Create a Team is one of the most crucial aspects of sporting
Uh,
games these days, being able to
it's
expand your
talking
leagues,
about
create your own
every
custom teams,
single
custom
Madden
logos,
as
colors,
came out
stadiums, you
since.
name it. This type of thing thrived in games like NCAA 14, Madden 2005, and currently thrives in games like NBA 2K and even NHL. Now, the rumor for a while was that the NFL banned this, but over time we've come to learn that it appears that they banned the ability to edit existing teams. The example that was used when this information broke many years ago was that the NFL didn't want to see the Raiders with a pink helmet. But in terms of creating your own teams, there's never been any official source that has said the NFL banned anything like that. And in fact, one of the former creative directors of Madden, Rex Dixon, said many years ago that they were never forced to remove the feature. After all, Madden does have over 30 relocation teams, which were even just updated this year. So the NFL clearly is okay with custom teams, and even the idea of relocating these teams and changing a current team to a completely new one.
That is
However, they
true.
have put the ban on editing existing teams to look different than their real life counterparts. And along with things like creating a team is also changing up divisions and things like that, or realigning the conferences. We've never gotten an official word on why we can't do that in Madden, but it would seem that that kind of goes hand in hand with this, as the NFL wants things to be more on par with real life. Now, my thoughts on this feature as a whole is that we'll likely see it return soon at some point, especially with the new NCAA football game coming out next year. That game will likely have a creative team, and then they can port
Yep.
that over to Madden. But I don't know if we'll ever see anything along the lines of NBA 2K, where you can literally upload your own
Yeah,
logos,
I
as I
don't.
just
Yeah,
can't see
that
the
probably
NFL
would
signing
never
off on
happen.
that based on how
I
they
would say never,
operate. But a
but
system where we have a bunch
maybe
of
not in our
pre-approved
lifetime.
logos and assets to choose from, with the freedom of designing the uniforms and stadiums ourselves, would definitely suffice and would be worlds better than what we currently have. Up next on the list is something that will definitely anger a lot of Madden fans, especially in franchise mode, and this is customization, which is kind of what we were just talking about with Creative Team, but this is
Yep.
more along the lines of equipment. This is another thing that the
What y'all guys think about the customization in Madden, in the newer Maddens? Are you like, I mean, it'd be cool if we had more, or you like, nah, it's got to have more. Like, this is terrible. Oh my goodness, this is bottom of the barrel. This is baseline. Like, where do y'all fall at in that camp? Let me know in the comments below.
NFL has been very strict on, and they're very strict on it in real life. We all know in real life, though, that players will kind of wear what they want sometimes, but the NFL will fine players for wearing this equipment that doesn't meet their very strict guidelines. Things like not wearing the right cleats or the right gloves is a quick way to have to pay a hefty fine over to the NFL office. Now, we've seen EA work their best around this lately and give us a good bit of what the NFL deems okay for players to wear, but the truth is we'll never see the crazy custom visors, custom cleats, or special gloves as long as the NFL has any say in this matter. We see all the time fans asking to get visors in the game with logos on them or different colored visors or some of the crazy gloves or cleats that these players wear in real life, but if the NFL isn't allowing it in real life, they're definitely not going to allow the players to wear the custom gear in Madden where they actually have full control over it. Just recently they made AJ Brown change his cleats during the game, so you know how seriously they take this. They're not going to let you wear pink cleats in Madden. This is
What?
also
I
probably
did
why
not
we
know
don't have
that.
the ability to wear pants above the knee or the option to not.
And if you guys do not know, the reason why Brown wears the pink is so his daughter can see him on the football and know where he's at on the football field. It's a really touching, heartwarming moment. If you guys did not know why he was wearing the pink cleats, you know. But I did not know that they made him take it off. Like, damn, those is nice too. I ain't gonna lie, I'll rock them.
Not wear high socks, because technically in the NFL you're not supposed to do that. It's a uniform violation, even though players do it all the time. But at the end of the day, EA is forced to comply with these uniform policies in game, as the people that control the uniform and the customization have said many times that they have to do what's in line with the NFL uniform policy, even if the real life players don't always do that. Now, this next thing on the list is a bit more controversial, but also a bit funny because it was later changed. I'm talking about none other than Colin Kaepernick. Now, I know everybody has a different opinion on the guy, but I'm here to just tell you the facts as it pertains to Madden. I'm sure most of you know about his situation with the NFL in the past that eventually led to him being in a lawsuit with the NFL, which eventually got settled. Now, he wasn't banned from Madden in the traditional sense, he was still in Madden games, and while EA didn't have his rights to use him after a certain point because he was no longer a part of the Players Association, EA did reach out and try to obtain his rights directly, but at the time it didn't work out. But that's not how the NFL tried to ban him from the game. Now, we have to go back to Madden 18 to talk about what happened. In the Ultimate Team game mode at the end of the year, EA does a program called Golden Tickets where a number of lucky people get to create a player of their choosing and make him into a super version of himself, a 99 overall with completely maxed out stats. In Madden 18, many people were saying that if they got a golden ticket, they were going to create Colin Kaepernick, as he did currently have a base card in Ultimate Team from the beginning of the year, which normally was the requirement. As long as they had a card in the game mode, you could create him into a golden ticket. But that year, after this hype started to pick up over people creating a Kaepernick golden ticket, EA then came out and said that you could only create a player who was on a current NFL roster or a legend player that was released in the game mode that year. Now, this never seemed to be the case before and would seem like the NFL stepping in and saying that this was a no-go, which made sense, I suppose, because at the time they were in a lawsuit, and if you're in a lawsuit with somebody, it's probably not a good idea to have that player's likeness being profited on in the game. But the fact that his base card was still available to be used in the game mode at any time kind of made things look bad. Fast forward to Madden 19, and then the next big viral moment happened for Madden. EA was caught censoring Kaepernick's name in one of the songs on the Madden soundtrack. After much uproar via social media and news websites picking this up, EA then came out shortly after and said it was a mistake, that whoever edited his name out misunderstood that while they didn't have the rights to his actual likeness, that they didn't have to actually censor his name.
Hold on. Let's read this together, guys. Oh, crap. Let's read this together. We made unfortunate mistake with our Madden NFL soundtrack. Members of our team misunderstood the fact that while we don't have rights to include Colin Kaepernick in the game, this doesn't affect soundtracks. We messed up and the edit should never have happened. We will make it right with the update to Madden 19 on August 6th. That will include the reference again. We meant no disrespect, and we apologize to Colin, to YG, and Big Sean for the to the NFL. Wait, Big Sean. Oh, to the NFL, to all those fans and our players for this mistake. I didn't. That's the only. That's one of the only Maddens I did not play was Madden 19. Was Madden 19? Yeah, Madden 19. So I did not know this
From the
was
song. But
even
then
a
come to
thing.
find out they actually censored his name from a song on the Madden 18 soundtrack the previous year when they did have his rights. This one
Oh,
just kind of went
nah, they
unnoticed for
did
the
it
most part for
in
a
Madden
while
18.
until the later situation happened for Madden 19. EA just kind of had to take the bullet for this one, as we all know this definitely
Yeah,
came down from the NFL because they were in a lawsuit in the guy at the time, but it just looked bad for everybody
I mean
involved.
EA,
But the funny
they're
thing is,
used
if
to
you
being
fast
called the
forward a
bad
few
guys.
years
So
later, Madden 21, they brought Kaepernick back to the game, and not only did they bring him back, they made a big marketing deal out of it. They put his player likeness in the game. They made him a highly rated free agent that you could sign to any team in franchise mode. They put him in the yard game mode and gave him special gear that was centered around just him. Obviously, the NFL had to sign off on this, but it's just funny that previously they made him not usable in the game or censored his name, and then just years later made a big deal out of bringing him back to the game. But they probably figured that they were going to gain more than they were going to lose by bringing him back and making a big deal out of it, so they just pretended like the other stuff didn't happen and brought him back into the game. Now, a little bit earlier in this video, I also mentioned that there is an NCAA college football video game coming out next year, and if you want to know more,
this was a great video. Some things I knew, a lot of other things I did not know. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this just like I did. And be sure to like this video and go ahead and subscribe to your boy for more. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next reaction.